health system. This is a crisis you confront in every one of the 12 boroughs of Manhattan because you see the human tragedy play out on subways, on the streets of people who are experiencing homelessness, often with severe mental illness. And I spent much of the last year touring facilities in the city, programs in the city that are trying to deal with that crisis. Hospital psychiatric wards, safe haven shelters. I tagged along with street outreach teams. And what I saw was a lot that's working. And in every single case, these responses are way too small relative to the scale of the problem. And so we wanted to highlight the opportunity to do better by these New Yorkers by investing in what's working. And I'll just give you one example of the mismatch between the scale of our response and the need. Most of the psychiatric care in hospitals is now being provided in H&H, you know this, primarily at Bellevue. There is one long-term psychiatric ward on the island of Manhattan at any public hospital. It's at Bellevue. It has 30 beds. That's it. One more, and the whole system is in Kings County. There is a large a state psychiatric facility in our borough on Randall's Island. Used to have 3,000 patients, now got 400. It's half empty. They were about to knock down a couple of the buildings. That's how far they've moved on. And so our plan called for dramatic investments in the kind of inpatient psychiatric care, long-term care that we know works, that we know can help transition people back into the community as stable members of the community into housing. And maybe take the time to read the plan. There's so much more to it. And if we have an agenda, perhaps next month, which is a little lighter, I'd love actually to have a conversation with all of you about it and what it means for your boards. But for now, I'm going to pause because we have no fewer than, depending on how you count it, 19 land use proposals to consider today. So back to you, Tricia.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to ask just for us to switch one item, just for the time being, only because Councilmember Salam this is his first borough board meeting, and I have a text from his chief of staff saying that they're on the way. So I would like to wait for him to get here to vote on the 125th Street Special District. So if everybody's okay with that, particularly CB10 and CB11 and Councilmember Ayala's office, we're just going to switch it up and we'll do the gaming facility text amendment first. As just a reminder for folks of why we decided to spend our Thursday morning going through all of this. There are a number of kind of citywide or multiple district text amendments or land use items that are being proposed right now. And when that happens, a lot of the time, Borough Board is given an opportunity to weigh in and has to vote on it, depending on if it's really kind of specific based on if it's a citywide amendment or if it's something that's specific for certain districts. Like you see here, it's kind of a perfect example of where 125th Street is only going to impact CB10, CB11. So those community board members and those council members are the ones who, and the borough president are the ones who are eligible to vote on it, versus the citywide text amendment, which we'll talk about just with these other two that are citywide. I mentioned to you guys in either December or in November, I can't remember at this point, but that we were waiting for law to weigh in and ultimately just confirm for us who was eligible to vote. That's particularly for this gaming facility text amendment. It took a while, but eventually they did confirm that because, and as you saw in my email to you, that because it's being proposed as a citywide text amendment, all council members and all community boards are eligible to vote on this. Even though the 5 applications that are currently on the table are only in community boards 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to talk a little bit more about COI later on, but for just the gaming text amendment, that one is due, I think, I'm going to look at Lizette, but I think it's due February 5th, ultimately.
Sorry, City of Yes?
No, to casinos. Yeah.
Casinos.
It's due February 5th, which is why we have to do it at this borough board meeting here. After this borough board gives their kind of vote on this. I believe the borough president has an opportunity to weigh in on this with his recommendations at a later date, as well as the city council will be voting on this at a later date in the coming weeks. Everybody clear on that one? Cool, okay, and just welcome Valerie, welcome Jessica, welcome Sandy, welcome Andrea, who are all new board chairs, and this is a real baptism by fire for you guys. It's been so fun. Unfortunately, we've had this situation come up before where it's just like your very first meeting happens to be just the craziest of things. And so I will just say that, you're in good company and this group is really supportive of one another. So I think it'll be good. I'm really happy to see, just in general, observe all new women chairs, which is really exciting. Kind of cool. Okay, with that, you have before you a drafted resolution for gaming. Because and I'm gonna pull it up on our, Eric, sorry. Can you pull up, there's one of them is for gaming. Thank you. And if you can share that screen, that would be great. Hold on one second, folks. I just want to make sure everybody online can see. Oh, I have it up twice. Excuse me, 1 second, guys. I just want to make sure that we, that's my fault. Okay. Sorry, folks. I just want to make sure that we get everybody's, that everybody online can see the resolution. Actually,
Hey, Mike was some.
apologies, guys.
I'm just gonna comment that we don't have that posted right on here. It's not running so that the world sees your password.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I don't think so.
Well, you can change it.
Yeah, you're fine.
Apologies for this. I thought we had this all set up, but this was my.
I've been on the WebEx. I think we're on that.
Okay. Okay, now I hope everybody can see online.
We can. Thanks, Tricia.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Good.
Okay, this, because it was a little bit of, there was a little confusion over who was, or a little, we needed additional clarity on who was gonna be eligible to vote for this. I don't believe that every community board ended up taking up a position on this, so we went off of the 4, 5, 6 primarily, who did take a position on this, for obvious reasons. I'm just gonna read the bottom of it, and then I'm gonna give the borough president or anybody who would like to make a comment about this an opportunity to speak on it before we go for a vote. We're good? Okay, so you can see the whole resolution. I believe it was emailed beforehand, but it says at the end, whereas resolved, the Manhattan Borough Board votes to recommend disapproval of application number N24017 9ZRY and request the Department of City Planning to work to establish a zoning approval process that is subject to the Uniform Land Use Review procedure. So, you know, for those more seasoned with this, it's a disapproval with conditions, a no with conditions. And the condition being that a viewer process would be included in this. I'm gonna open up for anybody to comment on it before we move to a vote. Go ahead, Valerie.
We sped through City of Yes last night, so we were able to take this up.
Oh, wow.
And we are a unanimous no.
Okay.
So we're on the record as a no.
Thank you. Okay, and we also have, I just want to note that we have some folks from DCP here, both in the room and online. So if anybody has any questions about it, we can entertain a question or two. But any other comments before we go to a vote? I see CV 11. Go ahead.
Although we didn't take the position, we have a long-standing precedence that anything that deviates from our process and preserving our rights.
Okay. Thank you. CV 5 and then CV 1.
CB5, for the same reasons for circumventing the ULURP process, also votes no.
Okay, thank you. CV 1.
CD1 Tammy Meltzer, we also have a long precedent of anything that denies the opportunity of the community board to do your process, we say no to.
Thank you.
We're in the same position.
Sure, no worries, guys. We'll get to a vote in a minute on this one. Any other comments before I turn it over to the borough president? And also obviously anybody who's representing an office here from a council member is also welcome to speak on this, or else we'll just move to a vote.
Okay. Wow. All right, that's my cue. Look, we have 9 expected casino applications in New York City. Any one of them alone, if the city was only facing one, would be one of the biggest, most challenging, most complicated land use battles that we've probably seen in a decade, with all sorts of questions on traffic and congestion and public safety and gambling addiction and impact on jobs and tax revenue, et cetera, et cetera. Today is about process, it's not about the merits. But even the process itself is massive. For the city to take on 9 simultaneous approval processes with all the intricacies. And so what we need to do, in my opinion, is ensure that the community voices that know a lot about all those factors I just mentioned, including the community board, have a way to be heard. And we have to make sure that we as a city can manage these 9 applications without all the systems breaking down and being overwhelmed. And this is what I'm certainly balancing and evaluating this resolution. I'm going to be abstaining today because we're getting a much fuller, longer, in-depth official response from the office in, I think, 2 weeks-ish, give or take. I want to assure everybody that we have heard where community boards stand on this. We have watched and read and listened to all your proceedings and those of you who passed resolutions, and I hear you today. So like you guys matter a lot to me in the office. So I want to reassure you on that front, but no headlines coming out of us today on my vote on this.
Any other comments from any council members? Anything else? Go ahead, Sam.
I might just say, Senator Gonzalez had a forum last week, and this issue was not really discussed there, but there was a lot of confusion on the part of both the Solovia group, who did a presentation, and on the elected officials as to what this would actually mean for the process.
Yeah. I think actually that's a question that we'd like, maybe if DCP, if Danielle or, okay, then Eric, can you please unmute Danielle just to
It's Stephen Johnson.
Stephen Johnson,
Yeah,
sorry about
Stephen.
that. I'm gonna stop share so that we can see you, Stephen.
Sure.
Verify that.
So the process, I'm not sure exactly what the question was, but is in relationship to what Soloviev's development would be if they have a gaming application?
There actually wasn't a question. It's really more of a comment that even the people participating in putting in applications didn't really understand what this would mean through the full process. So all I'm
Okay.
saying is that I think it's a complex issue that is not well understood.
So the idea is if this text amendment is approved by CPC and the city council, that permits the use in New York City. And then these gaming applications would then be submitted to their respective CACs, who would then publicly review those and then vote. They'd have to vote to approve or disapprove it. So they need a 2/3 majority for the 6 members, including the borough president, Mark Levine, would be able to vote on it. So then if it's approved through that public process, when the applications are submitted to the CACs, that would then be given over to the Gaming Facilities Location Board, who takes all the ones that have been approved, which could be 0 or it could be a dozen, and then they would whittle those down to 3 that they think have the most economic impact and the most opportunity and most beneficial items to it to get awarded the license.
Okay.
And if it went through the ULURP, what would be the process?
There is no ULURP. The ULURP is for this. This is a text amendment, so it's not officially a ULURP, but it takes over the ULURP process. So
Well,
this,
no, I'm saying if this fails, how would it proceed through the ULURP? The same
It
way
would
any
not.
other application?
it would not. If the text amendment is ultimately not approved by the CPC and the city council, then there would be no use in New York City for gaming.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Renee.
Could I ask, would this, if it goes through as it stands, would it grant as of right approval for any accessory or auxiliary use without additional scrutiny? So, you know, you get the casino, but then you get accessory or any other, you know, other things along with it without any scrutiny?
Right. So
Or is that everything else?
So the text, it follows the state definition of a gaming facility, which means the gaming facility with any affiliated related uses to the gaming facilities. So we see in a lot of these applications that there's a hotel, there might be parking, some have a convention center or a theater, restaurants, and other amenities. So those things would be affiliated with the gaming facility and would be permitted if approved by the CACs.
Okay. I'm just gonna say that we have a very long agenda here, and I think that like I'm getting the sense that most people know where they're gonna vote on this one, so I'm gonna move it along, unless anybody has any sort of like last minute clarifying question. Okay. With that, is there a motion? This is right now a motion to disapprove with a condition that it goes unless a ULURP process is established. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Thank you. There's a second. Okay, we're gonna do a roll call vote here, and I'm gonna start with community boards, and I'll go to the council members who are there. So a yes is a no in this sentence, which you all, I'm sure, have heard many times. Community board 1.
Yes.
Thank you. Community board 2.
Yes.
Okay. Community board 3.
Yes.
Community board 4.
Yes.
Community board 5.
Yes.
Community board 6.
Yes.
Community board 7.
Yes.
Community board 8.
Yes.
Community board 9.
Yes.
Community board 10.
Yes.
Community board 11.
Yes.
Community board 12.
Yes.
Councilmember Menon.
Abstain.
Okay. Councilmember De La Rosa.
Abstain.
Councilmember Rivera.
Yes.
A yes is a yes is a no.
Affirmative.
Okay. Councilmember Botcher. Oh, abstain, sorry. Councilmember Ayala,
Abstain.
Councilmember, sorry, for President Levine.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. The resolution passes. We are gonna move on. Okay, because Councilmember Salam is not yet here, we're gonna just move along right to City of Yes, and then when he gets here, I'm just gonna ask if we could take a pause to make sure that that other vote gets done, and then we'll continue on. A little bit of background, just to set the stage again. Oh,
I brought the elevator down.
oh, okay. And a little bit of background just to set the stage again, on City of Yes. I think in November, the DCP came to Borough Board to do a presentation on City of Yes economic opportunity. There are 18 different text amendments that they presented, and I believe that they've presented to every one of the 12 community boards here, at least on a committee level. Originally, their deadline to receive feedback from Borough Board and from community boards was January 8th. They said that they are going to extend that. Our understanding, I know that the date has been a little strange, but our understanding was that we needed to get our feedback in by the end of January 31st. I know that many of these your boards have been continuing to look at this very closely. About half of the boards are still waiting to get their full board done on this, but to my knowledge, I believe that every community board has at least taken this up either in your executive committee or on a committee level. And our land use team has been, around the clock watching and rewatching and even attending your committee meetings to take that feedback in and to put it into some sort of resolution so that we could track it. What was I going to say with this? I'm going to say before, and in general, in terms of process, normally I like to get you guys resolutions well before, the night before, or the day of voting on something, but CB8 had their meeting last night, CB3 had a meeting the night before, I think CB9 still has another meeting on this tonight. Right. So, just because we were trying to get all of that feedback in as quickly as possible and as timely as possible, that's the reason why you didn't get to see it before today, and I apologize for that, but I promise you, when we can, and when it's not as down to the wire as it is for this, you will certainly get these materials earlier than the night before. Another comment before we move to I'm gonna give DCP an opportunity to speak on this as well. So a few things again, the borough president and the council will be having an opportunity in the next few weeks to give recommendations on this or vote on this. So I appreciate the council members who are here and able to are still looking at this with us as a part of Borough Board. I also want to say that when we looked at the committees who took a vote on this, as well as the full boards who took a vote on this, it's hard to categorize everybody or to give like large statements on this, but the majority of boards who voted on this generally were a yes with conditions. Now, not across the board, some no on certain ones, but it was mostly a yes with conditions. So that's the place that we started, was a yes with conditions with these. And if you see, we tried to incorporate as many conditions as we had and conditions that were for the city. Oh, welcome, Councilmember Salam. Please come on by and we'll gather a seat. So I'm just going to finish explaining this and then we're going to go back to the first agenda item. So what we're going to do in terms of process is we're going to go through one by one, like I said before. We'll see if there's any kind of additional discussion that needs to be had, but I'm going to ask again, just that we have 18 of these to get through, 19 plus given the additional one that we have. So I'd rather not rehash what happened at your committee level or what happened at your executive committee level, but if you have anything that is a clarifying question or anything that that you think is really pertinent that should be shared across the board, or particularly if there's an additional condition that we should be adding to this, then we, by all means, let's definitely hash it out. And if it moves to being something different than a yes with conditions, I also, we kind of expected that too in many cases. So that's just where it started out. Yeah.
So you are flexible to go from a yes with conditions to a no unless.
Yeah.
Depending on where the individuals.
Yeah, it was mostly just because we took them all, 12 community boards and where they landed on it. But yeah, I understand. I kind of expect that some of them are gonna shift from a yes with conditions to a no unless. Yeah. Everybody kind of clear on how we did our process, and I want to give a huge shout out to Lizette and Celeste and Madeline for what they did. If you saw them, I don't think I've seen them eat lunch in a week. And they all have basically just been listening to your committee hearings, which have gone on for a long time, and trying to incorporate that feedback as much as possible. And thank you to those who filled out the questionnaires and that ballot that I sent you all. That was all just attempts to try to get more feedback on this beforehand so that we could give you something that was really informed by the work that you all did. With that, I'm just gonna pause right here because we have our council member Salon is here. And just in the interest of time, I want to move just back to the 125th Street Special District. So as a quick reminder of this one, again, this was the application for a zoning text amendment change regarding the requirement for parking, a parking facility to be built underground at this location because it's a change to the special district on 125th Street. It overlaps with Community Board 10 and Community Board 11. Even though Community Board 10, the actual development is in Community Board 10. CB 10, CB 11, Councilmember Ayala and Councilmember Salam, as well as Borough President Levine, who are the only ones who are eligible to vote on this. I don't think we actually have the applicant here again, so we're just going to, and we, as a reminder, we postponed this vote just because we wanted to, in this case, we wanted to try to, we knew that both boards had a little bit more work to do and we weren't as under the gun. So we wanted to make sure that everybody had time to get their stuff together. With that, thank you. The resolution right now does not say it was a drafted resolution from before where we knew CB 10 and CB 11 were going to fall. Right now, the drafted because CB 10 and CB 11 decided to not support the application. I would say that it is right now a no on the application. And I just want to give anybody a chance to speak on that, and then I'm going to pass it over to the borough president, and then we're going to take a vote. Councilmember Salon, welcome. CB 10, would you like to say anything?
Good morning, everyone. We certainly had an opportunity to review this in land use, EC, and general board. So it was given a fair hearing. I have been asked to share just a few reasons, not all, as to why we said no. The belief is that the text amendment, the impact of parking spaces, in our community, residents came forward and many of them are saying, yet again, this is another example of the loss of certain parking spaces for community-wide purposes. And then, the belief that there would be some preferential treatment to certain people who would, in fact, part of this project be able to do their parking. There were opinions that market rate tenants may already have their own vehicles and would expect parking as part of the building's amenities. And so, we just said that that's something that they can live with. But again, especially if you know that area, as I'm sure all of you do, I know our council member and his chief of staff know well what we're referring to. It's a stretch in many, many ways. So it was really just, talking about, we already expect for uptown community boards, congestion pricing is going to, bring that clog of, cars into our area. And again, I must say with open streets and with open areas and all of the things that DOT has done already, it was that belief. I can say that it was not unanimous. There were many people who, would be in favor. And so therefore, it really went through, again, extensive discussions with the borough president and others, to be able to arrive at that no. But it was the conclusion of Community Board 10 that this would be a no.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. CB 11 would like to say anything?
We have typically had a very reciprocal relationship with our uptown boards and supporting one another's positions, especially 10 that is only deep in the years of service. With this particular issue in CB Community District 11, we have a significant amount of reverse commuters that leave and go out of the city and therefore have cars. But we also witnessed during the pandemic was an increase of individuals coming to park on our streets. And back when your predecessor, Mr. Borough President Del Brewer, I had advocated upon my return to London for community district parking permits to limit that. We have seen as the rise of the pandemic, more people parking on our streets that do not reside in the district. Additionally, with the zoning text amendment expressed in our board, our concerns also dealt with the ramifications that would extend to further developments. We also did not receive a request when it came to the budget and what that would extend to with the actual development of the housing to put in parking. Several of our members, including several architects who deal with construction projects of this type, understand that when you deal with underpinning, that drives the cost up. So the request under the pretense as presented to our land use it fell flat for us. It was a bit of an ask, although we are supportive of affordable housing. In fact, many of our positions have germinated out of thin air and now been manifest with projects such as Sendero Verde and the 2017 rezoning, which included mandatory inclusionary housing. This was a bit of a stretch from us as well, but we deferred to CB10 in their position and support up in their, that is why it's a no.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm gonna hand it over to Borough President for comments, and unless Councilmember Ayala or Councilmember Salam would like to say anything further after the VP, we'll take it to a vote.
Okay, well, first of all, welcome Councilmember Salam. Feels good to say that. Now, mostly when council members come to their first borough board meeting, they can sit back, take it all in. You gotta vote in your first 5 minutes. I mean, it's just not fair, but welcome to the big leagues. Look, I am all in on residential parking permits for Manhattan. And I'm hearing energy on this in the room. So let's work together because now's the time with congestion pricing coming. I think every board in the borough had a stake on that. But you guys know that I am all in on dealing with this housing crisis, this absolute emergency we have to create more housing. And so my opinion across the board is when you're building housing close to a subway stop or Metro North stop, that you just use every inch you can for housing, not parking. There's also some hyper local reasons on this project where that would additionally lead me to favor the housing over the parking, which is that it's a very quaint tree-lined block with a lot of pedestrians on the sidewalk. And so the idea of punching a curb cut there through the sidewalk where you're gonna have cars coming in and out, messing with the pedestrians doesn't appeal to me. And then finally, I think, Mr. Chair, you addressed this, but the nature of the construction project would change if they have to basically dig out for a parking garage, and it would make it a lot more disruptive of a construction project to the neighbors on the block. So I may be confused on whether yes is a no or no is a yes here, but I think
No is a yes, yes is a no here, because yeah.
okay, so then I'm a no.
So you're a no.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Ayala or Councilmember Salam's office, would you like to say anything on this before we go to a vote?
No.
Okay, then we're gonna go to a vote. So this one is, forgive me for the draft again, we didn't put in the actual details of this one because we were waiting to watch it for CV10 and CV11. But a yes is a no here, and we're just gonna go to the 5 eligible voters in this. So CV10.
So yes is a no.
Yes is a no.
No. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Voting is approved.
Yes.
CV11.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Ayala,
No.
Councilmember Salam.
You said yes is a no.
Yes is a no. So you're voting to disapprove the application. So if you would like to.
You are also allowed to
approve the
abstain if
application, or you can
that,
abstain.
because you will be voting in the city council. We're just giving you
Or you
all,
can abstain.
yeah,
yes.
we're giving you all the options. So.
I can also move, let me, sure, so to give you CV10, the community boards have voted to disapprove the application. They are not supportive of giving the applicant a waiver. Councilmember Ayala, and I'm guessing Councilmember Levine, have said that they
I got
are.
promoted to borough president.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
I had to do a lot of work to get that.
Guys. Too not enough coffee. Borough President Levine and Councilmember Ayala are going to be no's, meaning that they are, I'm guessing, approving the waiver. So it's up to you to either support the waiver, not support the waiver, or you can abstain.
And by supporting the waiver, that means allowing for them to build parking.
Not allowing for them to build. They would not, they would like to be exempt from that requirement. So if you support the
So
waiver,
building is still gonna happen, you're
the
saying,
building's still gonna happen
without,
without the parking garage.
so if I say,
If you say yes,
That means that I
that
want
means that you want parking,
Right.
you want the parking garage there. If
So
you
I
say
say
no, and you say no, okay. Borough President Levine. For your-
I'm a no.
Okay.
I'm just
so
following the council member's lead.
So the resolution does not pass as a no. Would somebody like to propose a subsequent resolution supporting the waiver? Borough President, would you like to?
Oh, forgive me. Could you repeat the
Would you like
question?
to propose a subsequent resolution that would be a yes?
I think I would, Madam Community Affairs Director.
Great, great, okay, is there a second?
That would come from you.
That would come from one of the two.
Or Diane, yeah.
Yeah, is there a second on a yes on a
I will
subsequent?
defer to the elected official.
So, Councilmember, this is just a procedural thing. The proposal on the table was to deny, and so now because that did not pass, we are procedurally having to put forward a new proposal to approve of the application. So, Borough President has proposed it. There's a second from you. Okay, so now we are going to move to a new vote. To approve the application for the waiver, we're gonna again go to CB 10,
So that would be a no.
no, CB 11.
Oh, yeah, no.
Councilmember Ayala,
Yes.
thank you. Councilmember Salam, yes. Borough President Levine,
I will be a yes.
okay.
Yes is a
There we
yes.
go. Okay, so that was fun. So the subsequent resolution is a yes. Our land use team is taking that down. We will share with everybody, just so you all see it, a revised version of the finalized resolution. We're good. Before we move on to, and thank you, before we move on to the big one here, I just want to say, because as is custom, we want to give any other council member, elected official here, the opportunity just to say a few words if they have any other updates to give or anything to share with the larger group. I understand that Councilmember Salam has a busy day with a stated meeting here or there and some other things going on. So Councilmember, if you'd like to say a few words, we'd love to give you the floor.
This was a good first into this type of meeting for me. Kind of like a speed round, but I'm happy to be here, happy to support, especially as it relates to Harlem in the city.
Great. Well, we welcome you here anytime. You are a voting member. You are always eligible to send one of your staffers here to represent you, and we'll be bugging your office every time we know that there's a resolution coming up or something that you need to vote on. So thank you for being here. We appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you. Yeah, thank you.
Good job on the view, council member.
Okay, guys. We're gonna do this thing. I'm gonna share the screen. I'm gonna do. Thank you. Before we get into talking about the first one, I just want to recognize the Department of City Planning who is here today. And see if you would like to say a few words about this. Yes.
Actually, I'll stand. I'll keep it short because I know we've got a lot to go through, but just wanted to introduce myself. Matt Moskowitz, I'm the project manager for CDP's Economic Opportunity. I've spent many hours in the last couple of months with several of you, if not me, one of my colleagues certainly, and just wanted to, on behalf of the department and our commissioner, Dan Rodnick, wanted to express our gratitude to you all. We know there's a lot in this proposal. It's complex, it's complicated, there's a lot of moving parts. And so just wanted to thank you all for the time you spent with us, the time you spent outside of our meetings together, diving into these proposals, asking thoughtful questions, providing very precise recommendations to us. It's really important and beneficial. And we're just grateful for the work that you've done with us, and just want to say thank you. And I'm here for any clarifying questions, but I think at this point, we've had probably well over probably thousands of questions from Manhattan boards alone on this proposal. So if there isn't anything else, I'm here. Otherwise, thank you, and I'll be in the back of the room.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody have any broad questions about this before we jump in? Great. Okay, we're gonna go to the first proposal. Sorry. Okay, the first one is to remove time limits on reactivating vacant storefronts with grandfathered uses. We had those community boards who took this up, recommended approval, but right now I don't think I have any. I don't have anything, I think that was specific that we wanted to add into that. CV 11, go ahead.
So our land use committee, thank you for your call yesterday. At its second meeting this month on the issue, they did issue positions on all of them. I feel comfortable giving those to you. I'll email them over.
Great.
We'll be ratifying that on Tuesday. But with this, it was a support. However, with the recommendation for use of non-conforming space in the 2-year period has expired.
You're gonna have to tell me that a little slower so I can make sure I take a note of that. Sorry about that.
So we support it.
Uh-huh.
However, we require community board review and vote on recommendation for reuse of non-conforming space if the 2-year period has expired.
Okay, so that would be a condition.
Yes, correct.
Lizette, can you just give me a thumbs up when you have it down so that I can make, okay, thank you. Okay, so with that condition on community board review added to this, unless I see any other comments on proposal number 1, do I have a motion to approve with the subsequent condition? Oh,
just
yes.
want to go on the record, we were,
You were, no, okay, but, so you're gonna have to vote on, we're gonna vote on this in the room, so you could probably vote just no for that.
Okay.
Cool, okay, thanks.
And sorry, just quickly for CV4,
Uh-huh.
for all of the proposals, and maybe this is a comment I could just make now,
Uh-huh.
relevant to all of them, is that we're significantly concerned about the mechanism for enforcement for any of this, recognizing that all of the city agencies seem to be insufficiently staffed currently to manage the enforcement that they are responsible for at this time. And so I think that would be a condition for all of these things.
Yeah.
And we recommend a plan concurrent to this, but would look at an enforcement policy to ensure that all of this can be done as proposed.
Was that, can we add a whereas clause if it's not, oh, it's somebody's, you're
Yeah.
pointing and saying that you did that already.
Certainly move it to the top because I think this was probably the most common comment from the community board. At the very end after proposal 18, there is a line about enforcement and both ensuring that the appropriate city agencies have the capacity and the funding. Jessica, we can enhance that to include language about a more defined plan. If I'm understanding you correctly, we can make that modification. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Tim.
And I'm just gonna put it out here, it doesn't apply to 1, but it does apply to the upper 4 conversations and other things. What community board 1 does not understand, because we've not had presentation on the affordable housing part, is that's one of our number 1 priorities. And so we're really frustrated to have to deal with the conversations of anything that adds additional usages into residential, potentially removing residential, removing housing, changing the nature of housing, how that works for people who are living in buildings, for new changes. There's nothing in here that, and I understand we have a whole affordable housing thing to come, but as a general rule, we found it almost insulting in a city that's dying for affordable housing, have the conversation of economic opportunity take precedence by the city over housing to start with. I mean, our borough president waves the housing flag at every opportunity that comes through his way, and we are 100% supportive to find affordable housing. Everything that involves any changes to residential waves a red flag for us, even if it's not allowed now, not allowed then. We don't understand yet, because it's not been presented, how, and perhaps should have been, how this affects any ability for housing, plus, minus, neutral. Other than storefronts, that's the only one we understand in basements. So it's a global concept that I wanted to put out there, that in a city that's economically recovering at its own rate, and yet affordable housing and homelessness is off the charts, like, we need affordable housing, more homeless on the streets. We as a city should have tackled that first. And then had this fit in afterwards.
Okay, so I,
Just,
yeah, go ahead,
I'm
Sandy.
sorry, CB6 as well, we noticed that this was really anti-housing in a way, and it seemed kind of odd to put the economic issues ahead of housing.
I don't know if the city, I'm not gonna speak for DCD, but I don't know if the city, if they're gonna be prepared to comment on why economic opportunity came first before housing, but just specifically anything more specific about concerns about this, any of the proposals coming forward, taking away from potential housing. Can you comment on that?
Sure, so we've heard those concerns, it's certainly not our intent to take away, particularly from existing housing or the opportunity for future housing. We believe that both proposals for economic opportunity and housing opportunity are complementary, and that the city does face and that the way in which our zoning today sort of in many cases prevents adaptation of existing buildings. Proposals come talking about what happens for upper floors, for example. We think those tools are really necessary in addressing office to residential conversions of commercial office buildings, for example, and that we actually see it the opposite, that we help along with changes coming down the pipeline. Housing opportunity to enable the creation of new housing rather than take away from existing. But on proposal 1 in particular, I'll note that the zoning today does not prevent any of these ground floor spaces from adapting to housing. They can do that today. And in many cases, it's the physical layout of the ground floor space that is hard to adapt to housing. For example, a restaurant space could not easily convert to housing. The layout is set up because of everything involved in the space. And so we see this as filling some vacancy, not taking away from housing. But your concerns are definitely well understood. We've heard them from a number of boards. We're looking at ways that we can make sure in the modification process that we're addressing those.
Okay, I wanna try to get us away from debating the whole thing and then going into the specific proposals, just because I think it's gonna get us to be a more productive place, so. Going back, but Jessica, your point about, or CB4's point about enforcement, Lizette, you're giving me a thumbs up that we'll make the change to add that up and we'll add that language to the top. Thank you so much. With that, I'm gonna ask if there's a motion to approve with the addition of the condition that was mentioned by CB11, sorry, yes, CB1.
Motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So we're gonna move to a roll call. Oh, sorry, we're gonna go to a roll call vote. CB1,
Yes.
CB2, CB3,
Yes.
CB4,
Yes.
CB5,
Abstain.
CB6,
Yes.
CB7,
Yes.
CB8,
No.
CB9,
Yes.
CB10,
Yes.
CB11,
Yes.
CB12,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Abstain.
Councilmember De La Rosa,
Abstain.
forgive me, Councilmember Rivera.
You come back to me.
Yep. Pass, Councilmember Botcher,
Abstain.
Councilmember Ayala,
Abstain.
Borough President Levine.
Yes.
Okay, and then we go back to Rivera. Okay, I believe I'll do the calculation, I'll do the tally after, as soon as we're talking about the next one. Okay, we're gonna go to number 2. Simplify types of businesses allowed in commercial districts. This was a recommended approval. Do I have anybody who would like to comment on this? To be fair, this was a pretty straightforward one, so I think we're gonna take our wins here and just, do I have a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. This is a straight approval. We'll start again with CB1,
Yes.
CB2,
Yes.
CB3,
Yes.
CB4,
Yes.
CB5,
Abstain.
CB6.
Yes.
CB7,
Yes.
CB8,
Yes.
CB9,
Yes.
CB10,
Yes.
CB11,
Yes.
CB12,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Abstain.
Councilmember De La Rosa,
Is this for the same resolution?
this is the second proposal to simplify types of businesses allowed in commercial districts. There's gonna be 16 more of these, Kiana. So if you guys are gonna abstain, I can also just write you guys down as an abstention.
Abstention.
Got it. Councilmember Botcher,
I'm gonna have to abstain for all of them.
thank you. Councilmember Ayala,
We'll also abstain from all of them.
thank you. Borough President Levine
Yes.
and Councilmember Rivera.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on to number 3. The third proposal is to expand locations for small scale clean production facilities. This is a recommended approval with the following conditions, which would be to require accessory retail component in C1 and C2 overlay districts. I don't know if, Lizette, if you want to tell me where that condition came from, which board, if you guys recall that, or if that was just something that was, it was CP7. Thank you, CP7. If you'd like to discuss, if you'd like to talk about that for a moment, Beverly, I'll give it to you first, and then we can.
Yeah, I think we had it as a disapproval in West.
Oh,
but I don't, you know, I don't think that matters terribly. I think the notion was that in the residential overlay commercial districts, you care about street traffic and attracting it. And if you have a manufacturing facility that does not include a retail component, that would work against having adequate foot traffic in the area to attract to other businesses in the surrounding sites. So that was our rationale.
Thank you. Go ahead, CB11.
And I did email these over. You have a copy.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm just going to read into the record for the rest of the Borough Board. It was a do not support with conditions of A, require ground floor accessory retail with any production use in the commercial zone. B, restrict production use to ground floor and below. C, restrict allowable square footage or require community board review for uses above a maximum square footage. For example, C1-2 above greater than 3,000 square feet and C4-7 above 5,000 square feet.
Okay, so there were some that required additional community board review if it met certain thresholds. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the other ones very well. What can you
So it require that it's ground floor accessory retail with any production use in the commercial zone.
Okay.
Second is restrict production use to the ground floor and below. So when producing whatever the goods and services. And the third one was restrict allowable square footage or require community board review for uses above a maximum square footage. So greater than 3,000 square feet, which falls under the zoning text amendment C1-2, and or for example, C4-7 above 5,000 square feet.
Okay.
Just to have, we would have review over those particular.
Okay. Jessica, you want to
Yeah,
say something?
this may be for multiple, but I believe especially for this one, we would recommend that this only be for new construction.
Okay. Okay, Lizette, I'm just gonna wait for you to tell me if those conditions are all included. Unless anybody has any questions about this one, I think that unless CCP has any comments on anything that needs to be clarified, if there's any sort of conditions here that were that reflect any sort of misunderstanding, then I think that we would add those conditions. Right now, it would be a yes with those conditions, unless somebody wants to say anything else, but Tammy's nodding her head. Go ahead, Susan.
Even though this is described as having for clean manufacturing, we still feel that there needs to be environmental standards. There are many specific examples of, small production that can produce environmental issues, and that does have to be specifically part of, whatever is allowed. We also supported the idea that there has to be the retail. And we're also concerned that when you have these small, maker type operations, that there isn't the same attention paid to neighbors in terms of hours operating and noise issues. And that especially in communities like ours with older buildings, that can have a very serious impact, negative impact on quality of life.
Thank you. So maybe Elizabeth, can you also add, thank you. Just looking at that to make sure. Okay, so with that, unless there's any other comments, I'm gonna look for, yes, go ahead, Celia.
And so just, I mean, particularly in our district, we have a very small amount of new construction, so I'm not sure we would support that it be for new construction only.
Oh, okay, so I guess before I take a larger vote on this, I'm gonna ask for a vote on whether to include new construction, the new construction only condition as an additional condition. So is there a motion to, this is just, I'm gonna call a vote on whether or not to include the new construction language as an additional condition. And
Can
I'm
I
gonna
ask a question before
Yeah.
you call the vote?
Mhm.
Why only new construction, especially in both your districts? It's extraordinarily limits, so like we don't have a new construction unless it's a tear down, build up, so I'm curious as to why.
Sure, I think it, as I mentioned, it's not simply limited to this one in particular, but just as uses change and there are existing tenants that we're concerned that this will have an adverse effect on people who might already be in the building. And while it does say clean production, I don't know that we yet feel defined or comfortable on what that might entail, and that there would be implications for the current tenants or neighbors, and that just hasn't been fully thought out for existing neighbors and occupants.
So before we do that, then can you further discuss what clean production is defined as, and then maybe we can get at this by both addressing Susan's comments and your comments about clean production.
There was a starting point for defining clean, and clean is kind of a shorthand for all of the environments. So the first one is same standards we apply for cities mixed use MX districts, so we've had those for roughly 20 years or so all across the city. And you have to meet both local and state air quality rules, you have to also meet rules around hazardous materials. If you trigger any of that, you're not allowed to locate. In addition to that, if you're going to locate above the ground floor, you have additional noise attenuation standards that are built into the zoning. In addition to that, you have to meet venting requirements that's in the zoning, and all of that is before you can even get your CO. Because in all cases, this is a change of use because it's a new use group. So unlike, say, use group 11 today, which in many of your districts is allowed, which by the way have no environmental standards whatsoever, these uses would have all of them applying. And we think that is a sufficiently high in our environmental review tested this in every way we can think of, a sufficiently high barrier so that yes, it will be allowed in existing building, but admittedly under limited circumstances, it's a very high bar. We think that chances are the places where this would be used most are empty offices. And if it's in a storefront space, it's the kind of place where you could easily be venting. So we don't think it's going to be, let's say, a 5 residential block, just because of venting requirement. So hard to.
Thank you. And just to finish the thought is that it really goes back to the issue of enforcement, and that we just see that new construction gets more opportunities for the attention of enforcement, and that retrofitting and issues with existing buildings just don't seem to, at this moment, rise to the level. I know we're talking about addressing that, but it just comes from that longstanding concern that this isn't going to be monitored closely enough, and people may see this as an opportunity to start, using spaces differently. And if we're not going to be able to get enforcement to ensure that that's done safely and meets those standards, that it gives a green light for people to do things that maybe don't actually meet a clean production standard, but haven't been enforced, that the policy.
Tammy, go ahead.
So if DCP's thought process was this would be most beneficial in commercial and storefront, why include residential at all in this?
Because we think that there are some circumstances under which it does make sense
But
to have.
all of those circumstances, every one of them trigger the concerns for CB 4 and 2 about everything that goes with enforcement, regulation, appropriate environmental impact and everything else.
Sure.
Again.
So there are many kinds of what the Department of Building would consider to be a maker space. but doesn't need venting. And doesn't have potentially hazardous materials and does not have air quality impacts. So for example, if you have a couple of sewing machines and you do that work in the back and in the front, you're sewing things that you make from sewing machines. DOB, and we've heard this repeatedly, has a very conservative interpretation when it comes to that kind of business. And typically would say you're either used for 11 for manufacturing or you're just not allowed because you're considered used for 17 type of production business. So that's the kind of thing that we think makes most practical sense in a storefront space. There are going to be some limited kinds of perhaps food processing that's using, say, a restaurant space to make salsa. Again, zoning would say that that's actually food processing, not a restaurant space.
Again, why include?
I wanna go on, I don't wanna debate back and forth their decision to include. But, okay, so. Back to Jessica and then to Sandy, do you wanna continue to keep the new construction condition in there? You would like the condition for new construction?
I'm okay, but if everybody else doesn't want that, that is.
Okay.
One,
Can we vote on it?
Yeah, let's vote.
one point of clarification, is this exclusive, this amendment is exclusive of new construction or conversion to open spaces?
Yeah, so we're gonna, so actually, I think that what we'll do is we're just gonna keep it in for right now, because that was the condition. Sandy, if that's a no for you, then I understand that that's a no for you, but we're gonna move to vote on this. This is a yes with the conditions. I'm gonna forget all of them, but Lizette's giving me nodding, so I know that she's got them. She's got the conditions that CB11 mentioned about approvals, ground floor and below, and the other thing that Xavier said that I can't remember, we have the CB7 stuff that was already included. We have some language about additional environmental clarification on environmental review from CB2, and then we have CB4's piece on new construction. Those are the conditions. I'm gonna move to take a vote on this. Do I have a motion to approve with those additional conditions? Thank you. We're gonna go down, thank you. From 10, we're gonna go down from CB1.
Yes.
CB2?
No.
CB3?
Yes.
CB4?
Yes.
CB5?
Abstain.
Thank you. CB6?
No.
CB7?
Abstain in that our retail will be in existing buildings. And we think this is a good idea. But this
Yeah.
new construction is what throws us off. I don't think I can approve that.
No, I understand. Thank you. CB8?
Same as 7.
So abstain. Okay, CB9?
Yes.
CB10?
Yes.
CB11?
Yes.
CB12?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon will abstain. Councilmember Del Rosa will abstain. I'm just going to assume that, but please feel free to unmute yourself if you're not.
Everything, thank you.
Yeah, no.
Everything, thank you.
Councilmember Botcher is going to abstain. Ayala's office, abstain.
For all of them.
Thank you. Councilmember Rivera's office.
Can you tell me CB2, 3, 5, 6 votes on?
Yep. CB2 is a no. CB3 is a yes. CB5 is abstention.
You're
You're gonna abstain.
Because we're gonna
You're still
go
doing
next
it.
week.
No, I understand. That's fine. And then Borough President is unfortunately in another meeting, but will hopefully come back. He has told me that he's a yes for now, unless I got that wrong. But let me just count these up really quick because we need to get to 10 yeses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This does not pass. So this one is gonna go as I see mostly abstentions here, so unless anybody wants to propose a subsequent resolution. Yes, go ahead, Beverly.
The same resolution, but omit the piece concerning new construction.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, so we're gonna take this vote again. CB1.
Yes.
CB1, CB2.
No.
CB3,
Yes.
CB4. CB5,
Abstain.
CB6,
Yes.
CB7,
Yes.
CB8,
Yes.
CB9,
No.
CB10,
Yes.
CB11,
Yes.
CB12,
Yes.
Menon abstains, De La Rosa abstains, Botcher abstains, Ayala abstains. Borough President is a yes, and Councilmember Rivera abstains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This does not pass. So we will not take a position on CB3 unless there's another subsequent motion on the table.
And how many do you need to pass?
10. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Keep it going, guys. Okay, we're gonna go to number 4. Okay. Sorry.
I'll just comment that we were a no.
Okay, I'm not sure why sorry, Eric. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Okay, lesson loading berth requirements for use changes in commercial buildings. This is approval with the following condition. Requiring a special permit that includes findings that consider local traffic as well as any residential uses that might exist in the building. I'm not sure, again, unfortunately, I just have the conditions here. I'm not sure where the community board came from this, which one, but I know CB1 said that they were a no, but CB11, would you like to add any?
That's our modification.
Oh, that's your modification.
Yeah,
Okay.
we said proposal should be modified so that it doesn't apply in mixed use buildings, which kind of is exactly where that's going.
Okay, so that was
We were a no
a no unless. Okay, any additional comments, conditions?
We were in support of, but with the condition of the prior community board review and vote on application of reduced requirement for loading berth for existing buildings.
Lizette's giving me a thumbs up as an added condition there. So I think that we're gonna, unless there's, you have to leave. Okay, so you're CB 12. I
gave her some of that info.
Okay, thank you so much.
Is that, can that be written in as a process? That's what we didn't understand.
We can always write it in as a condition. So I don't see the, okay, we're gonna write it in as a condition and I think that's fine. I'm just gonna point out that, no pressure on TV 12, because I know everybody's got a long day ahead of them, but when we lose somebody, we still have quorum here, but our requirements for, like, it may be adjusted in terms of what the majority is in order to get to a yes. So I'm gonna just do that quick math after I get this down, but just want to point out that we may not need 10 anymore, we may need 9, depending on what that did. But okay, so adding CB11's comment, I think that again, I did mean what I said before, we looked at everybody's committees and full boards here, and we started out at a place with yes, because that was where the majority of folks landed on this, but you know, if it doesn't pass, then we'll consider something different. So I think we're gonna go with a yes with the condition, not only the one there, but also an added one from your CB11's comment. Do I have a motion to?
I just wanted, we also felt that if you're going to decrease these loading docks, there should be a parallel increase in the amount of on-site storage so that there isn't this overwhelming of streets as a result.
Okay, thank you, thanks, Susan. Lizette, do we have that comment added? Thank you. So with CB2's additional conditions, CB11's conditions, and I think it was CB1's condition here, do I have a motion to approve the?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. We're gonna go to a vote. CB1.
Because we voted
Because
a
you
strong disapproval.
So you're
unless it's
in-
modified, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
CB2,
We're also in.
okay, CB3,
Also a no.
CB4,
Abstain.
CB5,
Stay.
CB6,
Yes.
CB7,
Yes.
CB8,
We're a strong no.
okay, CB9,
Yes.
CB10,
Yes.
CB11, CB12. Oh, no, CB12 is no longer here. Okay, so abstain for Menon, abstain for De La Rosa, abstain for Botcher, abstain for Ayala. Borough President is a yes. Councilmember Rivera. The proposal's moving forward. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think that definitely does not pass, but let me just do the quick math to see if there's a subsequent motion that needs to come on the table here. So there's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 people here. So that means that we need to have a 9 to get there. There's definitely not enough yeses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses. I see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 no's and a bunch of abstentions. Would anybody like to propose a subsequent resolution? Go ahead.
I'd love to change the vote to be a no unless the modifications are included.
Okay, is there a second for that? It would be a no unless,
When including our conditions.
including the same conditions before, so going from a yes unless to a no unless. I see a second for that, so
Okay, I was just gonna say, we're still a very strong no.
yeah,
I feel
so,
like this, it just takes away too much parking from the neighborhood,
right,
especially given the congestion pricing coming in, and we feel that there's gonna be a lot of stress in our neighborhood, and we also feel that this proposal, there's a deeper loading berth that may mean that some trucks no longer intrude into the sidewalk, and that's part of the intention. But we think that the length is still far shorter than the longest trailers, which are 53 feet. So we think that's an issue as well.
okay, the motion on the table is to vote for a no unless. There was second, so I'm gonna call a roll call. CB 1. CB 2.
Yes.
CB 3.
Yes.
CB 4. CB 5. Abstain. CB 6.
Yes.
CB 7.
Yes.
CB 8.
No.
CB 9.
Yes.
CB 10.
Yes.
CB 11.
Yes.
CB 12. Oh, sorry. Menon abstains, De La Rosa abstains, Batra abstains, Ayala abstains. I believe Borough President Levine will approve, and Rivera abstains. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oops. I know unless it's approved. Lizette, you guys got that all down? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, guys, we're gonna move right along here. Looking at the time, just bear with me. I'm gonna push us along. Okay, 5th one is allow commercial uses to the 2nd story of mixed use buildings in low density districts. This is with the following conditions. Should only be applicable to new construction, should limit upper floor commercial to C3 to C6 zoning districts. I'm looking for any additional comments, any additional conditions. Go ahead from CB 1.
Proposal should be modified so it does not allow for residential to commercial conversions, which could create further competition between commercial and residential uses in buildings in commercial districts. The proposal further should be modified to require strict separation vertically and horizontally between residential person circulation and commercial person circulation so that they do not mix. Proposal further should be modified to apply the proposed separation, attenuation, and air quality rules to establishments of all sizes and uses, including but not limited to personal establishments or those with an occupancy of less than 75, not just quote production uses or commercial uses that have a rated capacity. We did a strong disapproval with modification.
Okay, thank you. Have those, can I make sure that those are,
I can email it all.
okay, please make sure that those,
I have a
only because
printout
I
that
wanna
I
make
can
sure.
go with.
Perfect, thank you. Go ahead, CB 7.
CB7 opposes this proposed amendment. Expansion of commercial activity in residential buildings will result in the reduction of available housing units.
Okay.
Further, the use of residential buildings for commercial purposes is likely to have a negative impact on residents' quiet enjoyment of their homes. Expanding commercial activity on upper floors in residences is likely to result in increase in foot traffic and elevator use. Regulations governing noise and odor are cumbersome and difficult to enforce. Indeed, most co-op and condo buildings in the district have rules limiting commercial use, and these rules have proved to be unenforceable.
Okay, thank you. I think you.
I mean, I didn't hear a condition there, in the comment, but I think to the extent that there were comments there, like in the enforcement cases in the general comments piece, but if there's something like this in terms of condition.
We got your comments though before, Beverly. We know the CB's, CB7 on this one. Okay, Go ahead, Sandy.
And we also said unfavorable unless these conditions were done.
Okay, so right now the motion on the floor is a approve unless, so I will entertain any sort of actions here, what people want to do.
Recommend deny unless.
Deny unless, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, so we're gonna go through.
Before, I just want to say that a lot of, I don't have direction to do no plus modification. Because there was a feeling on our board that we shouldn't be in the throes of a 2-month or 3-month review. Coming up with modifications when the CPC has presented us this after 2 years of thought and analysis. And we shouldn't be rushed to try to make it better in the limited time we have. So that's why there was a feeling on our board to just say no, literally. And that's why I have to stay with my no. I mean, these are excellent suggestions on the part of each of these boards. And we have done the best we can with the time that we've had. And we just feel that saying no starts the process over again. So I just wanted to say that to all of you. Thank you.
I just want to give you in all clarity, we had to hire somebody because we didn't have the bandwidth to do it. We had to hire an outside consultant. So as tight as budgets are.
Yeah.
We felt that we had the same feeling, and after the first presentation from DCP, it was so overwhelming that the board kind of.
Right, so that's why we are strong no on a lot of these without giving a recommendation, but I think a lot of your suggestions are fine. But I think to, at this point, be then listening to the CPC come forward and put this in front of the city council. With yet another rush then to get consulting with our city council people as to how they should vote on this. We think it's put us all in a very unfair position, given the overwhelming changes that are going to be made.
Okay. I want to move the vote out because it's procedurally wise, the vote has been called, but I will make a comment on this after we go through this. So right now, on the proposal on the floor is a vote with a vote to disapprove with conditions. It's already been seconded, Susan, so I want to just go through the roll call respectfully before we continue on with conversation. I'll just observe that we're on number 5 of 18, and that makes me a little nervous about time. So with that, no with conditions. Lizette's got that all down. I'm going to go to CB1,
Yes.
CB2,
No.
CB3.
Abstain.
I'm sorry, this is a no?
A no with conditions.
Yes.
CB4.
Yes.
I'm gonna go to CB10 because it looks like Mr. Powell.
I'm not leaving, I just
Oh.
want to say, so, yes.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead. CB5 abstains. CB6.
Yes.
CB7.
Yes.
Thank you. CB8. No. CB9.
No.
Thank you. CB11.
We were originally yes with this, however, item 32 is on yet.
Okay. CB12. Oh, sorry. Abstain.
Abstain.
Yes. De La Rosa abstains, Botcher abstains. Ayala abstains. Levine is a yes. Rivera is abstains. 1, 2, 3.
Can I
4.
change my vote to an abstain, please?
Yes, you can.
I didn't look.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 abstains. The motion does not pass. Okay.
Can I make a substitute motion for a no?
That
No?
okay, is there a second for a no?
Second,
Okay, so we're gonna take a vote for a no,
just a straight.
no. CB1,
Come back to me.
CB2,
Yes.
CB3,
Yes.
CB4,
Abstain.
CB5,
Abstain.
CB6,
Yes.
CB7,
Yes.
CB8,
Yes.
CB9,
Yes.
CB10. Oh, CB10's not here. We'll come back to him. CB11.
This is in support of?
This is a no, straight no.
It's abstain.
CB12 is not here. Menon abstains, De La Rosa abstains, Botcher abstains, Ayala abstains. I'm gonna have to abstain for Mark Levine until I actually get a, like, know if that's okay with him, so I'm gonna wait there. And Rivera abstains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think unless, even if Mark and CB10 says yes to that, that's only 8, so it does not pass. Any of them, sorry? Oh, you're 9, I'm sorry, you're a no. I'm sorry, what are you, you're voting, what is your vote? Okay, well, I'm gonna give everybody, why don't we give everybody a 2-minute break to just grab some more coffee, because I wanna give CB10 an opportunity to come back and vote on this, but we gotta keep on going here, guys. So we'll give a 2-minute break to grab coffee, stand up, and we'll come back when Mr. Powell comes back in.
To me, this is just an anti-housing proposal.
Let's see. Oh, God.
Do you want to grab a laptop if you want one of us to move up here? Okay, so we put in.
Yeah.
It's gonna automatically count, so it's a lot.
Wow.
Feverishly like putting them in and
Oh, fun.
it'll give you the yeses and nos.
Oh, that's so great. There's my chicken
Yeah, well,
scratch.
and
I was
also
like-
they're going back and forth, and she is super quick, so,
Oh, Celeste?
yeah, she's just, as soon as the team changes, she's going back and doing it, so.
Can you just, do me a favor? Because I'm gonna, can you just go ask Mark about like. We're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 divided by 2 is 9.5. We need to have 9, right? Okay, guys, let's get back to it. Sorry. You have to be here to abstain, but we understand it. We'll self-harm.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. No. Sorry, folks, we just gotta keep on going here.
It was only 90 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, I know, I'm sorry. An IV of coffee, that would be awesome. Oh, Mr. Powell, we were pausing on the vote for, it's okay, I'm just gonna catch you up really quick, because we were actually waiting, it was perfect time, because we used your step out to give everybody a break for a little bit. So on number 5, it was first approved, no unless, it did not pass. And then it was a proposal just to do a straight rejection of it. You can see from my chicken scratch here that we're still waiting to hear from CB1 on this. CB2 approves, 3 approved, 4 and 5 abstained, 11 abstained, 12 is no longer here, so we're looking for you and for CB1 and for the borough president to decide if you want to straight up disapprove of the 5th one. Or if you would like to abstain, and.
So our board said yes, so we would not.
So you would not
we would
be-
not be a disapproval.
So that would be a no, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Alright. Sir. We probably will not get finished before 11, but if you, I mean, I would. We will get through as much of this as humanly possible. I think we still have quorum if you have to leave, and I understand that, but it's really up to you, and I will move through as much as possible. I totally understand, so I will get through as much of this as possible for you. I can't,
Let's figure it out.
if I had another person from CB10 here, I could give you you could give them their proxy. But I'm gonna move this, I'll move this as fast as I can, okay?
I'll stay here.
Thank you. Okay, yep, so we're gonna, I get it, guys, okay.
Can I ask, will you give us, since CB5 is still meeting to vote?
I will give you all of these things.
Because then we'll vote on the new stuff, right?
Absolutely, on the new stuff, that would be really helpful, thank you. Okay, guys, we're gonna move right along here, I'm gonna thank you to Councilmember Menon's office, to Carmen De La Rosa's office, Ayala's office, Rivera's office, you are actually helping us keep quorum. I know that we have a couple people who have to leave because you all have jobs, which makes sense. And so if we lose quorum, we're gonna have to come up with a plan B and I'll figure that out. But we're gonna move right along here. This is why I'm just gonna point out that, I'm gonna try to cut down on any sort of additional discussion. We can all talk about this for forever. We're community board members, so this is our job, to talk about it forever. But it's to the extent that I wanna try to just get these votes in for us so that we can get this, move this along. So with that, CB 10, we're going back to the fifth text amendment proposal. CB 10, how do you vote?
So that would be a no.
That would be a no. If CB 10 votes no on the disapproval, then it goes to CB 1.
I'm gonna have to abstain because I'm
Okay.
not 100%.
Okay, no problem.
And I'm sorry, because I think that makes it fail.
It doesn't either way, because I think it wasn't gonna get there. So you're good. And then Lizette, did you get a chance to run over to Mark as an abstain?
Yes, I'm sorry, what is on the table now?
A no, straight no. And Mark abstains or Mark votes no?
He votes no.
He votes no, thank you. Okay, that does not pass. So there is no, there's not gonna be a resolution on the fifth one. Moving on to number 6. Okay, the 6th proposal is to.
If there's no recommendation, that means that we have no voice and vote.
We have no stance on this issue. We have not found consensus. We can talk about it afterwards, but that's.
So I'm gonna change my vote to a yes.
Okay, we still won't get there, but I appreciate that. Okay, so we're gonna move on to number 6. Not CB6. We're gonna update, simplify, modernize use group categories for businesses. This was recommended approval with the following condition: exclude Governor's Island for modifications to use groups to preserve intention of special district. I will just say, I think we included that one because of Governor's Island, but in general, if you had a specific condition that was only specific to your community board, we did not include that because this is a borough board resolution and we wanted it to be all encompassing, but I think it was a nod towards the fact that Governor's Island is kind of a special situation. Do I have any sort of additional comments, conditions, or a motion to approve?
We have particular concern with folding in eating and drinking establishments because they do not operate like other commercial operations. Normally operating after business hours involving high concentrations of people, and that to treat it like any other business would not be appropriate.
Okay, so you're a no because
No.
this is a concern. Thank you. Any additional comments or conditions? Yes. Go ahead.
When we actually had to table this one, but I have a question for city planning. One of the things we were concerned about, an issue that came before our board last year, was the placement of shelters and sanctuaries. And we were wondering what classification of use that would be under the new regs.
I don't know offhand, but on our website, we've translated every single current use to how it would look under the building frame.
Okay,
So
is it
it might
maybe,
be that-
if you can
Yeah.
you maybe
I'll-
text
I'll
somebody?
Try, but
Not for this.
if it helps into both of your comments, proposal 6 makes no changes to where any particular business or use is allowed to locate. It's solely about updating the terminology for each of those uses.
How would that, what's the difference? I'm sorry.
So, for example, taxidermy, defined use in our zoning today, freak shows, defined use in our zoning today. We're doing away with that outdated terminology and translating each outdated use to modern terms.
Okay.
But we're not making any changes to particular
Yeah.
allowances in proposal 6.
So nothing gets changed in terms of like what is qualified under one thing versus another. They're literally just updating the language so it's not offensive, is my guess.
Yes.
Is that the cosmetic thing?
It's a
On proposal
yeah.
6, it is solely cosmetic and all about.
So it's not any modernization to update the 1960s code to cover all new items?
That would be covered elsewhere, so. I'm
Okay,
trying
all right,
to
okay,
answer your
all right,
question,
all right,
but-
thank you. Okay. All right.
Okay, so do I have, yes,
Motion to approve.
thank you. A motion to approve with the
Second.
condition? Is that, and are we clear on that? Motion to approve with condition, there's a second, I'm going to a vote. CB one,
Yes.
CB two,
Yes.
CB three,
Yes.
CB four,
Yes.
CB five abstains, CB six?
Yes.
CB seven,
Yes.
CB eight,
Staying.
abstain, CB nine,
Yes.
CB ten,
Yes.
CB 11? Xavier?
Yes. Just double checking.
No problem, sorry. Menon abstains, De La Rosa abstains. Botcher abstains, Ayala abstains. Mark Levine is a yes, and Rivera abstains. Okay. Sorry? Thank you, there's 10 yeses, it passes. Thank you, Eric. Okay, we're gonna go to number 7. Allow indoor agriculture and clarify enclosure requirements. This is a recommended approval with the following condition: exclude the growth of agricultural products that are only permitted through state permitting or licenses. I think that means cannabis. Is that what we're all getting at there? Permit agricultural uses only in buildings with commercial and manufacturing uses, not in residential uses. That seems pretty clear to me. Any additional conditions or, yes, go ahead.
So we were in support. First provision with the condition was required ground floor accessory retail for urban agricultural use in a commercial zone. Second was reduce allowable FAR for agricultural uses to be less than allowable FAR for residential uses. And the third was restrict agricultural uses involving controlled substances.
Okay,
Is cannabis still considered a controlled substance?
Yes.
By
Yes.
definition.
Yes.
okay, so does that,
So I think those.
I think that's the
additional-
same, but that's similar to what's already proposed there, correct?
It is with those two additional ones.
Okay, so with the
Just
two
one.
additional ones, go
I
ahead,
have a
Tammy.
question on that. If we exclude the growth of agricultural products that are only permitted through state permits or licenses, and cannabis gets, let's just say nationwide approval.
Uh-huh.
Or there becomes a city approval process, then that opens the door, correct?
I mean,
And if,
we can change the language to be CB 11's language if you think that it's stronger. Madeline's saying, yes, let's do that in the back, so we can change that to, I mean,
I'm just asking the question, you don't need to change for me, because we ended up being a flat no, although we liked the idea of being able to grow lettuce in the apartments and stuff like that. Due to the rats, the bugs, and everything else, we ended up just being a flat no. across.
Okay, so we will, so whatever the language, the stronger version of the language is, we will use that language when it comes to cannabis. I want to move to a vote. I'm sorry, I'm gonna lose some of our board members here in a little bit, so I'm trying to be prompt, but if you have, Sandy, another condition to add.
Just that we had established guardrails for environmental impacts, including odors, rodents, and other negative impacts on the surroundings.
Okay, so we can add something about that too, I think.
And we would have like water usage.
Okay, so Lizette, did you guys catch that last
What
one?
was that very last one?
Guardrails around environmental impacts, including water
Oh,
usage.
thank
And
you.
rats, pests,
Odors,
odors, all those other
Yeah.
pieces, vermin.
I'd
Yeah,
also like to suggest that we consider this a deny unless.
is there a second to have a deny unless?
Second.
Second, okay, so this will be the proposal is for a deny unless. There's a second, we're gonna go to a roll call. CB 1,
Yes.
CB 2,
Yes.
CB 3,
Yes.
CB 4,
Yes.
CB 5,
Stay.
CB 6.
Yes.
CB 7,
Yes.
CB 8,
Yes.
CB 9,
Yes.
CB 10,
Yes.
CB 11,
Yes.
CB 12. Oh, no, sorry. Menon abstains, De La Rosa abstains, Botcher abstains, Ayala abstains. I believe Mark Levine is a yes on this, and we'll do an abstention for Rivera. Does that pass? Okay, the motion passes. We are moving right along here. Okay, number 8. Clarify and update laboratory uses, recommended approval with the following condition: do not permit the uses that require DOHMH registration as of right. Does anybody have any additional comments on this one? Go ahead, Xavier.
Require community board review and vote on recommendation for life science uses, which is something we dealt with most recently, so.
Okay, go ahead.
This is a subject that is very near and dear to Community Board 8. After our longstanding battle with our erstwhile neighbor, New York Blood Center. We are strong no on this office space in the city of New York. And we think that there's no reason to allow this everywhere. And so we saw how the ULIP process failed us on this, and we do not see any reason to expand the breadth of the life sciences in the city at this point with this text amendment.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Tammy.
Proposal should be modified to require that because of the risks such laboratories pose to neighbors, life science uses that are obligated to register with New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene should not be developed as of right and should need a special permit to locate anywhere near.
Okay, so that one's already, I think, included in the condition.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Can you, I think we have Councilmember Menon on, but I don't think we have Councilmember De La Rosa anymore.
But you said it's not permitted. We're saying that they need a special permit.
Okay, can we
No,
change?
we're saying it's not as of right, so it just doesn't specify that it's a special permit. It's like broader terminology, but we can update it to say special permit specifically.
Yeah, we think that they should be able
Let's
to
do
come
it.
to the, comes to the community board like a DSA or anything else.
Okay, so we'll update that.
But clarification, can city planning talk to this? Because this is, my understanding of this is that it would eliminate the existing special permit requirement for labs.
It would not. So trying to keep my comments short here, a few components to proposal 8. First
Do the math.
is commercial laboratories allowed today as of right in C2 districts, it's not allowed to C1 districts. So we would be introducing commercial laboratories in C1 districts. Second component to this is the existing special permit as of the geography. We are expanding the geography for that existing special permit. Third part of this is updating the terminology for laboratories. Uses the 1960s version of what's considered a laboratory in commercial areas. We want to make sure that the reflection today is understanding what that research is. So those are the 3 components to this.
Okay, I think we're gonna move to a vote on this, because I honestly think that afterwards I'm gonna say goodbye to a couple of the folks who I know need to leave, and then we're gonna do some math and see where we're at, okay? So this is a yes with those conditions, and I think we added a couple of those, a couple of conditions, Lizette, to this.
Yes.
Thank you. We're gonna go to CB1,
Yes.
CB2,
No.
CB3.
Sorry, we're.
This is
yes.
okay, CB4?
Yes.
CB5, abstain? CB6?
Yes.
CB7?
Yes.
CB8?
No.
CB9?
No.
CB10?
Yes.
CB11?
Yes.
Menon abstains, De La Rosa abstains, Botcher abstains, Ayala abstains, Mark is a yes, and Rivera is an abstention. Okay, does that pass? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It does not pass. Okay. Does anybody want to propose a subsequent, or do we? I'm not
You
sure.
make it a no unless.
No.
It would be a no
No
unless.
unless.
That
Would
gonna,
that change anybody?
okay, so this is just a no position. Okay, I think before we it's just gonna throw us off a little bit, so I think everybody who needs to go, we understand that you need to go, we get it. Thank you for being here, we appreciate it, and we'll see you next month for what I can almost guarantee you will be a shorter meeting. Okay, but let's just do some math here. So I have. Sorry, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, not 10 anymore.
This is everyone that's here.
Okay, so go ahead. So 10 is leaving. Okay, but so 10 is gonna have to leave. Ayala has to leave. CB4 has to leave. So what are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we've still got quorum. So we're gonna continue on. And
Can you tell us what the revised threshold are?
I have no idea yet. Okay, so we have 13, so we have 13 people here. Quorum for us is 12. So as long as we're above 12, then we'll continue on. But that means that if we have 13 people here, then we need to have 7 to pass something now. If we do not get through this, which I do understand people have lives to do, what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to call a special meeting and see if we can get quorum. Again, quorum is just 12, but see if we can get quorum to go through the rest of this. So that's gonna have to be our plan B here, because just based on our bylaws, we have to do this together. Okay, so that's gonna be our plan B. We're gonna keep on going. Let's move on. Not CV9, proposal number 9. Clarify and reorganize drinking and eating establishments. This is approval with the following conditions: create performance standards for nightlife establishments with input from community boards. Permit proposal only within commercial areas, and then exclude Madison Avenue from changes to nightlife regulations. Go ahead, CV11.
So we supported, however, our conditions were: 1, revise unlimited occupancy for C3-C8 M districts. 2nd was require nightclubs to abide by SLA procedures for the community board to weigh in on when it pertains to hours and noise. We did have during the pandemic, someone pulled a fast one on us right there by East River Plaza, where they expanded within a footprint, even though they kind of this restaurant space, and they converted it into a nightclub, and we've been battling with SLA ever since.
Okay.
So it just isn't one. So that is our condition.
Okay, land use team, you guys got those things, thank you. Any additional comments? Seeing none, we're gonna move to a vote. Do I have a motion to vote? That's 1.
I'm gonna be a flat no.
Okay, but I asked for a motion to vote. Is
Yeah,
there-
motion to vote.
Thank
Okay.
you, second, we're gonna move to a vote, thank you. CV1 is a no. Number 9, CV2,
No.
CV3,
No.
CV4,
Oh, yeah.
is not here anymore. CV5,
Abstain.
abstains, CV6.
Yes.
Is a yes. CV7.
Yes.
Is a yes, CV8.
Yes.
Yes, CV9,
Yes.
CV10 is not here, CV11. CV11,
Yes.
CV12 is not here. Menon abstains, De La Rosa is no longer here, Botcher is here, abstains, Ayala is no longer here. Levine is a yes, Rivera abstains. 1, 2, that's 6, that does not pass. Is there a subsequent motion on the floor?
With conditions.
No with conditions. Is there a second? Yes.
Second.
Okay, so we're gonna go again. CV1, yes. CV2, CV3,
Yes.
CV4 is not here. CV5 abstains. CV6.
Yes.
CV7,
Yes.
CV8.
Yes. Yeah.
This is CV9.
Yes.
Thank you. 10 is no longer here. CV11.
Yes.
Thank you. CV12 is no longer here. Menon abstains. De La Rosa is no longer here. Abstention from Botcher. Ayala's has left. Levine is a yes. Rivera is abstains. And we have passed it.
Yeah.
No, unless. Okay, we're moving on to number 10. Expand opportunities for amusement uses. This is a recommend approval with following conditions. Amusements of a certain size and outdoor amusement facility should require CPC permit instead of a BSA permit, special permit. Amusement uses in C1, C2, and C5 districts on Madison Avenue should be limited to 10,000 square feet.
Where did that come from?
Us.
On Madison Avenue?
Your condition, but it was that, I believe we took your language about limiting it in size to keeping it C5, the same as the requirements for C1 and C2.
So what we had said was proposal should be modified to allow for consideration of smaller scale amusements, i.e. 10,000 square feet or less, particularly by amusement users serving the local community by CPC special permit. So we had a 10,000 square foot smaller than comment with the CPC special permit. So what
Okay,
kind of combination?
So we
someone-
somehow there was a combination of this, but do
Yeah.
you just want a special permit for anything that's larger than 10,000 square feet? Yes,
Anything, yeah.
okay, so we should adjust that, Celeste. I'm not sure where and then I don't know where do you wanna keep the Madison Avenue piece in there?
Well, we looked at it differently. We bifurcated it, indoor amusements versus outdoor amusements.
Uh-huh.
And we were against any change to the outdoor amusements.
Okay.
And then, the indoor was okay, so long it was still conforming to existing height and bulk regulations.
Okay.
So I don't think that really reflects.
Okay, so let's strike the Madison Avenue piece in there, cause I don't know where that came from, but let's strike the Madison Avenue piece and let's see if there's consensus with as it stands before. I don't know if I wanna bifurcate it just yet unless I see more consensus for that. Okay, so we are gonna edit to change for special permit over 10,000 feet.
Don't they exist for over 10,000 square feet already? I think we were saying.
Oh, it does.
They do, there are.
We were saying for less than 10,000 that there should be a permit process.
Okay, so there should be a permit process.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Land use team, sorry, there was a lot of word jumble for me. You guys got it. Okay, so we're gonna change this, particularly the second bullet. It's gonna be special permit for anything 10,000 square feet or less. I think that's really where we come.
Again, that you changed outdoor movements and indoor movements.
Okay, we can also include that as well. Thank you. Okay, so CB8's comment, CB1's comment, we're gonna move to a vote. Do I have a motion to vote?
Motion from
Thank you. Let's see a second. We're gonna go CB1,
Yes.
CB2.
Yeah.
CB3,
Yes.
CB4, no, here, CB5, CB6.
Yes.
CB7,
Yes.
CB8,
Yes.
CB9,
Yes.
CB10,
Yeah.
not here, sorry, CB11.
Yes.
Thank you. 12 is not here. Abstain. De La Rosa's gone. Botcher abstains. Ayala. You guys all know what this is. Mark votes yes, and Rivera is an abstention. Does that pass? Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on. Thank you. Okay, number 11. Modernize rules to facilitate more home-based businesses. This is recommend disapproval unless the following conditions are met. Square footage of the home occupation, percentage of unit, and number of employees should be limited. Number of visitors to a building should be limited via limits to the number of clients and deliveries per week. Notification requirement to neighbors that there is a home-based business. Establish a mediation system. Initiative that resolves disputes and limit the number of employees to 3 and total number of people in the apartment to 5. Let me just make sure that there's no more. Okay, that's it for this one.
We also specified it needs to be primary residence.
Needs to be the primary residence. The business needs to be the primary residence. Land use is nodding their heads. Does that make sense to land use?
Yeah, that's also in the zoning, that's just make sure of the text, but yeah, we can.
Okay, to specify, okay, thank you. Go ahead, Sandy.
We just had 500 square feet instead of limiting, we asked for 500 square feet. Be under 500 or less square feet.
Okay, so that's a difference there. So hold tight to that.
Okay.
Okay, let me just, because we're gonna have to specify. I don't know which one takes precedence here, but we'll go to CB11 and CB1.
We were not in support with the following conditions, some of these somewhat parallel. 1, require notifications to residents for any home business creation and or expansion. 2, require signage for all home businesses. 3, provide traffic and hour limitations based on home business size. And 4, restrict co-op condo unit combinations for home business expansion.
Okay, so most of that is similar in some ways, but like we should add the signage piece, which is just a little bit more than what is there, and then home co-op and condo usage piece. I saw Lizette nodding her head.
Yes.
Okay, and then
Hours.
the hours, and that's kind of reflected there, I think. as well. Limited and to visits, maybe we can do, we can add language about hours, because right now we have visits. And that will be,
Traffic as well.
I think we did, we had visitors,
Okay,
is that,
okay,
is
yeah,
that not,
visitors, yeah, that,
is that, okay?
Question, what's the signage piece?
just that there should be proper signage for the business being there, so people don't have someone coming in and out. For example, in our building, you're not allowed to run a personal business. So if you were, say, a personal trainer and all of a sudden you decide you wanted to open up a home gym in your apartment, they would want to make sure there's signage.
So the signage would be on the residential building itself.
Correct.
I have no issue with that. So,
I would add zoning currently prohibits signage exterior unless you're a medical.
And what's it called, condo restriction?
That if someone were expanding within their business by acquiring another unit to therefore expand and to grow into that space.
Can I clarification, Patrick? My
This must
understanding
be
is
this one.
this only applied to rentals and that this doesn't override condo and co-op rules, which exclude home
This would
businesses.
apply to any dwelling unit as defined in the zoning, so that is rental, that's also owner occupied. But rental agreements, co-op agreements. do supersede.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
So
that.
that's true today.
Okay, yeah, no, I just,
If you're
I know,
condo-
but I didn't understand, okay.
Okay,
So-
Can I, we're gonna be a definite no on this. I go back to the comments I made before. You're setting up a recipe for trouble. There's absolutely no enforcement mechanism for any of this. And I think it's really unfair to the people who live in these buildings who are gonna be taken advantage of. On the frequently asked questions seminar that was held by CPC, when, somebody talked about aromas coming out of a nail salon that was being conducted in a house. The answer was to call 311 or the building department. I mean, that is just not an appropriate response. And I think we're really going to allow something here that we're gonna regret. So we are a strong no on this, and I would urge you all to be the same.
So I hear you on this, and I just want to say that on this one especially, we're grateful for your recommendations on it. Especially in light of how expansive the zoning is today. So thinking outside the bounds of land use or things that the city can do to address any existing enforcement as well. So I want to say, we hear you loud and clear on the land use components of this, but also for example, recommendations around programs similar to Mend. Those are the kinds of things that I think will be really helpful to looking at the city council. For how to address this.
okay, so I just to follow up on a few things before I go to more comments, but because it's condo rules to proceed, I think we can strike that piece. And then I think that
Condo has to have. Problem is,
oh, Don, you're unmuted.
the problem is that we have now gone through this issue with a condo building that specifically had certain verbiage, much like CPC language, that they're updating about uses that are allowed and not allowed, right? And a cannabis applicant who's trying to open, the landlord of the commercial says, but it's not specifically spelled out exactly as is. So I think the problem is if the condo rules are not updated along with, there are people who will be allowed to do stuff because the condo board hasn't updated theirs. So I think I
So we'll
would
keep
say
the
leave
language.
that in.
Okay, go ahead.
And then for us, it's not just square footage, percentage of unit, number of employees should be more limited. Problem is, there's no more cap in terms of percentage or square footage that's prescribed. So we actually were more generous than 500. We said 1,000 square feet or 49%, whichever is smaller. Because the concern that we have beyond primary residence, which we know is there, is without any caps. You could have a 4,000 square foot apartment and somebody say, yeah, I sleep in that bedroom. We have that exact situation in a building on Broadway, which the owner has turned into a full dance studio and the ceiling has collapsed on the person below. And they have been through 311, DEP, DEC, Department of Buildings, they've been everywhere, and the only violation that the person above got was an egress violation.
Okay, so why don't we, just one second, let's see here, let's,
think you can't be
instead
that
of for
general.
CV9 and CV6, because you guys were talking about differences in how you did it. would CB1's version of this be acceptable for you both? It would be something that would be slightly larger or 49%, but whatever was smaller. Is that an acceptable change, or would you rather still keep it to be? You both have different, you, three of you are trying to address the same thing in different ways, and I'm trying to build a little consensus here.
Yeah.
So
We just said it was conditional upon keeping the 500 square foot limit that currently.
so you have to say with the 500 square foot piece.
You could say 500 or 49%, which is ever smaller, because
That
that
would be
gives you
fine.
that gives you 1,000 square foot apartment.
To CB9, does that, would that be an acceptable piece? Okay, so let's, to land use, let's move it to that language over there. Unless there's something that is another condition.
Yeah, can I just say that you're thinking about this in terms of individual apartments? You're not putting any cap on the total number of home-based businesses there can be in a building. You could have people wind up in a commercial building surrounded by home-based businesses.
Sure.
That's not the intent of this. Again, we have so much commercial space that's not being used. And we want to get housing.
Okay, so any additional language, any additional thoughts on conditions?
I think the concern I have is there is already existing language that allows home businesses. So, and I don't disagree with what my colleague is saying over here.
Mhm.
The question is, how do you attempt to expand opportunity without overwhelming?
So,
Like, is there a current plan?
right, so DCP, is there a cap on how many home-based businesses can be in one building?
There's.
Okay, so can we add,
Introducing
introducing one will be out of scope for this action. Okay, so land use, can you help, lifeline here?
We can put it in there for the record, you know, and even though it's out of scope, because it seems to be a pretty strong point brought up in the meeting, but.
Okay, so let's do this. I'm sorry, guys, but I'm very cognizant of the time here, and I don't want to drag everybody in here for another meeting to get this one done. So we're gonna add those conditions. We're gonna add new language, even though it's out of scope, saying that, recommending that there be a limit to how many home-based businesses can, be in one building. And that will be an additional one. So just to recap, 500 square feet or 49% of the unit, plus the other language that Xavier had put in about condos and co-ops, plus the primary residence piece will add, and then the language with the cap to the number of units per building. Do I have a motion on the floor?
No with condition.
This is is this no with conditions or a yes with conditions?
No with conditions.
Okay, there's a second. We're gonna call a vote. CB1.
Yes.
CB2.
Yes.
CB3,
Yes.
CB4. Oh, sorry, CB5, CB6.
Yes.
CB7,
Yes.
CB8,
No.
CB9,
Yes.
CB10's not here anymore, CB11,
Yes.
CB12 is not here anymore. Menon abstains. De La Rosa is not here anymore. Botcher is abstains. Ayala is not here anymore. Rivera abstains. And Borough President is a yes. Okay, we're gonna go to number 12. Okay, streetscape requirements, approve with the conditions. Provisions should not apply to special zoning districts. Provisions should include ground floor residential uses. Excuse me, facing the street frontage, not just lobbies. Additional comments or conditions? Go ahead, Xavier.
Committee was in support with the following conditions: preserve existing special district urban design rules. 2, consider special requirements for formerly red line districts where local culture is at risk of erasure due to a legacy of disinvestment, with required community board review and PDC public comment.
Can you repeat the first part of the second condition?
So the first condition is preserve
Got it.
existing special district.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
And the second one is consider special requirements for formerly red line districts where local culture is at risk for erasure due to legacy of disinvestment, with required community board review and PDC public.
Okay, is red line district something that is actually recognized in DCP language? That's my only concern with that one is that like where I would wanna keep in the whatever the term is, like the language and the terms, whatever.
No, and I understand, and to further elaborate for my colleagues reviewing for DCPs, they understand is that, and this is going back to the days of Robert Moses, a lot of what was happening in northern Manhattan and the South Bronx was redlining on an active basis. And so how do we find language, and I asked for DCP, how do we find language that fits within the scope of recommendation to address that? And I think that's where so if we can find an agreeable language to make that an included.
Yeah, so
proviso.
friendly amendment to that would be community historical and red line rather than referencing a particular geography.
Okay.
I think that's the spirit, say.
I think our board would be pleased with that.
Okay, land use, you guys have understood and got that language, thank you. Go ahead, Valerie.
I'm not sure I understand the ground floor residential uses. We were actually saying that ground floor residential apartments should be permitted on the streetscape, so long as there are appropriate window lights. Because again, we're trying to get more housing, not less. And so if we had a landlord who was willing to do that, that would be an acceptable use as far as we are concerned. And this seems to say that it doesn't, right? Because
Can you, so Valerie feels like that maybe we got the wording wrong, that for the second condition there, that they want to include ground floor, but that lighting is critical in this.
So this one is speaking to 2 or 3 boards that I think wanted to, in the spirit of the comments that were made earlier about prioritizing housing, wanted to make sure lobbies are already, I think, allowed on the ground floor because they're lobbies, but wanted to include front facing residential units as opposed to only rear facing. So that this is new on the, I think what Valerie brought up, which is the issue of like transparency from the ground floor, if I'm understanding correctly.
yeah, I mean, look, there could be developments, windows, et cetera, that would allow somebody to have an apartment that you couldn't see in, but you get the right amount of light coming out. We would want to preserve the ability to have ground floor residential.
Right, you don't wanna have, but you also don't wanna force a ground floor residential, knowing ground floor tends to be the least secure for residential in general. Having, they shouldn't be forced to have clear glass
No, I mean,
necessarily
what we're just saying,
looking in their apartment.
all we're saying is that if there could be appropriate window lights that make everyone satisfied, we wanted to retain the ability to do that. That's all, or have the ability.
If it's helpful, the proposal here would say that the active, what would be defined as an active ground floor use must occur when the preponderance of the storefronts within 100 feet of it are active retail or other kinds of commercial uses.
Okay.
So the idea is that this only triggers when it would go, say, retail storefront, housing unit, retail storefront, from the eye that turning that otherwise retail active street, having ground floor residential really does have a detrimental effect on the entire area. Recognizing that in some limited geographies where that would trigger, but also your concerns about housing generally are very low. So I just wanted to provide some clarity over that.
So I don't wanna discourage ground floor residential usage.
I don't think that this one, it's saying that it doesn't it doesn't discourage, but it's in the case where there is commercial, right, on the.
This would trigger in cases where the adjacent storefronts are all commercial. It would say that if a building on the ground floor is converting from one use to another, that conversion cannot include.
Okay.
Only on the street.
Only on the street,
You can have
so
rear-
this is, we're talking about map commercial overlays districts within.
Okay,
But it is barring ground floor residential.
In those circumstances,
That's street based.
yes.
Just to clarify, it doesn't bar it, but you must meet the criteria of this.
if it's called a social block is the concept, so it's the idea that any, one storefront, unless it affects all of the storefronts. What storefront base does, so in those cases, it would say that it has to be an active ground floor use, active ground floor does not include residential.
So you are fine.
Fine, so to Valerie's point, stop and cancel.
It does exist currently. So that type of,
That kind of rule does exist in many special districts today.
I know, I'm saying that type of residential use does exist in so.
That type of residential use does exist. The rule that I'm talking about also exists in many places where. Yeah, it's unfortunately, it's much more complicated than, yeah.
Okay, so. Okay, so we made the changes with CB8's language. We have additional language from CB11. Does anyone wanna make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to on a yes unless,
Yes, unless.
is there a second?
Is that a no unless?
Her proposal is a yes,
As stated
is a yes unless
Oh,
with those
yes,
additions,
unless
so
you
is there a second with a yes unless?
Uh,
There's a second. Okay, we're gonna call a roll call and then we'll see where we fall. CB1. So, go ahead.
Abstaining because
I wanna just take
don't
the,
understand.
take the votes. CB2,
No,
CB3,
No.
CB4, no, CB5,
Same?
CB6.
Yes.
CB7,
Yes.
CB8,
No.
CB9. CB10 is gone, CB11, CB12 is gone, abstains for Botcher, abstains for Rivera, and Levine is a yes. It does not pass. Is there a subsequent resolution?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. The provision should include ground floor residential uses facing street frontage, not just lobbies.
No, I'm sorry, we changed that because it wasn't clear enough. We used CB11, CB8's language, which is that that when this is occurring, that lighting should be, Valerie, can you please repeat your piece there?
That it can include ground floor apartments as long as they have appropriate window and lights.
So that would not preclude residential in a change of use, correct?
That's the way I interpret your recommendation, is that it would be the removal of that provision and that residential is allowed so long as.
Right,
like,
okay.
That's the way.
I changed my vote to a yes.
You change your last vote for a
My
yes.
last vote
instead
from
of
an
an
abstention to a
abstention.
yes.
Does
Thank
that-
you for clarifying that.
Does that get us to, it does not. Okay, so is there another motion on the floor or? Yes, go ahead.
No unless.
A no unless. Is there a second for a no unless?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go again for a second, a no unless with the
Yes.
changes in the languages. As Valerie had said, including CB11's language as well. CB1 is a yes, 2,
yes,
3,
Yes.
4 is gone, 5 abstains, 6,
Yes.
7,
Yes.
8,
Yes.
9, 10 is gone, 11,
Yes.
12 is gone. The electeds are going to abstain, save for Mark Levine, who will vote yes. Okay, we're gonna move on. It passes. We're gonna go to 13.
Just a point of order, I just wanted to be clear, yes means that even with the provision, it doesn't apply to special districts.
Yes,
It's not gonna
that's,
change the zoning.
yes, we included
Okay,
the-
thank you, sorry, I don't mean to slow.
No, you're fine. Okay, we're gonna go to 13. Update motor vehicle repair uses categorization, including with the condition that repair shops should be subject to a CPC special permit instead of a BSA special permit. And include findings that ensure minimal disruptions on sidewalks. Go ahead, Xavier.
We do not support, we would like to, first condition was require analysis of current auto repair uses and surrounding 2-block radius to determine and prevent oversaturation. 2, provide minimum distance requirements for uses such as schools, parks, and healthcare. The justification for this is that in our neighborhood, we have a lot of garages in the area. In fact, where I live on 102nd, there's one on the corner of 102nd Park and one on 102nd and Lex. You'll find pockets of that, so we want to see that more dispersed.
Okay, so including distance language that CB11 has put in there, is there a motion on the floor? Yes.
So moved. Approve with condition.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We're gonna go through the roll. CB1,
Yes.
CB2,
Abstain.
thank you, CB3,
Abstain.
CB4, CB5 abstains, CB6,
Yes.
CB7,
Yes.
CB8,
Yes.
CB9,
Yes.
CB10 is gone, CB11,
Yes.
CB12 is gone, Menon, the electeds abstain, Mark Levine will vote in the affirmative. I think that passes. Number 14. Almost there, guys. Okay, my distribution facilities, this is an approval with following conditions. Zoning text should include safeguards against geographic concentration of these type of facilities. DCP should just demonstrate that the flow of bikes and e-bike traffic around the facilities be well managed. This goes back to the enforcement piece. Establishments have a customer facing component. Other comments, conditions, go ahead, Xavier.
Committee do not support with conditions. The conditions require ground floor accessory retail and ground floor facade transparency for micro distribution uses. And the second, restrict micro distribution uses to ground floor and building.
Okay, did land use, do you guys receive those comments? Thank you. Valerie, do you have something to add to this?
Yeah, we said no, not on any side streets. Not on Madison or Park Avenue. Limitation of the number of trucks that could be unloading in front of the distribution center at any time. And obviously not in any special districts. I mean,
Okay.
I know we're gonna go back to that, but that's an overriding comment we have with respect to the entire thing, even though it's not really addressed in each of the 18.
Okay, so I can't do the Madison and Park Avenue piece just because we specifically said we can't just do one concentrated neighborhood just because it's borough
Yeah,
board.
I get it.
Well-
What about side streets though?
But I can include the language on side streets. I'm looking at land use first. Did you guys get the other pieces to that? And then the special district language too. I'm sure you can add to that. Maybe this is worth putting into our top whereas comments about like special districts getting additional consideration on this. Go ahead, Tammy.
I would prefer the language to say additional consideration versus not being able to, or additional consideration, additional permitting.
Okay.
Only because in some of our special districts, we have the space for it, we have the streetscape for it, it would not be a bad thing to be added. And in others, not appropriate, so I think it pursuant to what we're talking about on a case by case, it needs more.
Okay, so let's do additional consideration for the special districts. Maybe we'll definitely add that to this condition and then we'll try to add some language at the top. Just as an overarching piece of this. Go ahead, Sandy.
And I would prefer not to put in side streets because specifically in our district, there are a lot of potential uses that could be on side streets. So maybe.
We have a hard time in the difference between what's a side street versus like a park historic street grid, which we're the only ones who have that.
Let's put additional consideration.
You might be able to just do narrow streets. Is that?
Yeah, I think noting the general concern and conversation.
Narrow streets and limited sidewalk space.
Okay, let's do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Narrow streets, limited sidewalk space, and we'll see how that goes. Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. We're gonna move to a vote. I hope you all understood all this stuff, right? Okay, so CB1's a yes, CB2? Sorry?
No.
CB3?
No.
Okay, CB5 is abstains, CB6,
Yes.
CB7,
Yes.
CB8.
I'm gonna have to abstain because I don't have the.
Okay,
authority to do the
CB9,
No,
CB10 is gone, CB11,
this is supporting with the conditions.
this is supporting with the conditions.
We're not supporting the conditions, so.
Okay. You abstain?
Yeah.
Okay, 12 is gone. Electeds abstain, I think we're not there. With Mark Levine being a yes. Is there
Motion to,
no unless?
no unless.
No unless, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we're going again,
Yes.
CB1,
Yes,
CB2,
this is a no on this.
Yes.
CB3.
Sorry, can you?
This is a no unless, so we
No
went
unless.
from a yes unless to a no unless.
Abstain.
Okay, 4 is gone, 5 abstains, 6,
Yes.
7,
Yes.
8,
Abstain.
9,
Abstain.
11,
Yes.
And then Mark Levine will be a yes. Okay, does not pass. Okay, we're moving on. We're gonna go to 15. Okay, allow residential campuses to include commercial space. Applicants with the condition that applicants should be required to demonstrate campus resident support for the citing of their proposed commercial use. Yes, go ahead, Xavier.
Support with conditions, require majority NYCHA resident engagement and approval for NYCHA campuses. And the second, require community board review and vote on application of non-residential uses on residential campuses.
Okay, those land use, can you give me a thumbs up when we get that? Great. Any additional conditions, unless we're gonna move to a vote?
Motion to approve.
That's second. Thank you. We're gonna go to CB1,
Yes.
CB2,
Abstain.
CB3,
Yes.
CB4. Oh, sorry, CB5.
Abstain.
Thank you. CB6.
Yes.
CB7.
Yes.
CB8.
Abstain.
CB9.
Yeah.
CB10.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes. No,
Yes,
sorry.
Bob.
Yes, right. Okay, thank you. CB12 is gone. So no, I think we've lost Menon. Okay, we'll figure that out. We've lost De La Rosa, right? So Botcher's still here. Ayala's gone. And Rivera is here, who abstains, and Borough President Levine is a yes. That's 7. Thank you. It passes. We're moving on. That's 15. We're gonna do 16. Okay. Allowing corner stores in residential areas. This is approved with condition. Community board should be included in the authorization process to weigh in on the types of businesses that would be located in corner stores. Go ahead, CB11.
Support with condition to require CPC and city council review and approval process in addition to community board processes.
Is that not reflected in the language here? It's with community board.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
great.
Good, sorry.
That's okay. So CB, any other community board conditions?
Motion, yes.
Is there a second?
Just.
Oh, go ahead,
to add,
CB3.
We also had suggested requirement of environmental review.
Already.
It's already, okay.
Okay,
Sorry.
That is community board. It's a
Okay.
referral process. Yeah.
great. Okay, we'll keep it in there. CB, there's a second, so we're gonna go to a vote. This
Yes.
is a yes, with that condition, which
Yes.
seems to be included, but it's okay. CB3, CB1 is a yes, CB2.
No.
CB3,
Yes.
CB4 is not here, CB5 abstains, CB6.
Yes.
CB7,
Yes.
CB8.
No.
CB9,
No.
CB10 is gone, CB11,
Yes.
CB12 is gone, and Mark Levine is a yes. That does, that's 6 out of the 12. Because now we're just at quorum, so I don't think that passes.
We need 7 out of 7.
We need 7 out of 12. Okay.
Can I just say something? My understanding that the rationale for this change was Staten Island. So we've been not voting on things that just apply to one area. So I don't understand why we have a text amendment that is directed at one borough and we're gonna allow it everywhere else.
The original idea for this proposal came from Staten Island, but we do think that there are places within Manhattan in residence districts that could apply.
We have one in our district that it applies.
Okay, all right.
And also, for example, for legal non-conforming stores in residence districts, if they want to change their use, they typically cannot. And typically this means
Are
they
you
can
leaving?
go to a bar or restaurant.
Okay.
Gonna kill quorums.
Yeah.
This would allow them to change. their use.
Just hold on.
Just so we could do it out, we have a lot of problems with not-for-profits who are on corners.
Yeah.
In residential neighborhoods. This would allow them to turn all of their corner space into restaurants and outdoor
Okay.
cafes.
Can I, guys, we can continue to talk about this, but Valerie, we
Sorry,
just
sorry,
vote on this one.
Sorry.
We have 2 more and they seem to be a little bit clearer, so I just
Sorry.
want to try to get these ones done before I lose quorum. When you lose quorum, that's kind of it. So very quickly, Xavier, just, I'm gonna actually suggest that we bundle these. And so I'm gonna taking a note from CB5, who bundles like the best of them. We're gonna bundle these last two. I'm gonna bundle these last 2. We don't have any conditions on these last 2. One is to streamline waiver processes and another one is to create a new manufacturing district. If anybody has any comments on either of those 2 proposals, I'll hear them now. and then we're gonna take a vote on both of them.
The 17 was just, we didn't just support it because the condition required building standard of appeals review. Was on one condition.
A condition that requires approval for
Building
BSA.
standard of appeals review and approval.
We did not approve 17. We did.
But I wanna know if there's conditions. Lizette, you're looking like you didn't get it from Xavier.
Think that one more time.
Yes, the condition was to require building standard of appeals review and approval.
Like the Department of Building?
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay, so with that condition to 17, I'm gonna entertain a motion to approve with both, with that condition for 17.
So moved.
Second, okay, thank you. I'm gonna take a vote on both of these. If you can just tell me if you're yes on both, or if you have any sort of changes for those, I'll take them now. So CV1,
No for 17, yes for 18.
okay, CV2,
No and yes.
CV3,
yes, I'm going.
thank you. CV4 is gone. CV5
Abstains.
abstains. CV6,
Yes, for both.
thank you. CV7,
Yes for 17, no for 18 is overbroad.
okay, thank you. CV8,
17 is a no and 18 is a yes.
CV9,
No and yes.
thank you. CV11,
No for 17, and yes for 18.
CV12 is gone. We would be yes for both, and so I think say 18 passes. 19 or 17 does not pass. Is there a subsequent resolution on the floor? Yes, go ahead.
Do not support with the same condition.
No, unless, so is there a second for that? Thank you. We're gonna go to a vote. CV1, CV2.
I'm sorry.
This is a no unless for number 17, so we've moved from a
No,
yes.
yes.
Okay, CV3,
Yes.
CV5.
Stay.
Thank you. CV6. Sorry, this is a no unless for number 17.
Yeah, we voted wholeheartedly for this,
So this is a,
but I will, yes.
sorry, I know the tough,
Yeah.
heavy is the head that wears the crown. Number 7, so CV7.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 8.
Abstain.
Abstain. Number 9, CV9.
Yes.
11,
Yes.
and assuming the other ones are abstentions, and Lavina's a yes. We did it, guys.
Right.
But I want to point out for the record before you close, in the law, losing the quorum and the people are running, this is why you don't do 18 proposals. And every other land use action that comes before every other board, because we had 2 others beyond this, and another one coming. It's too much for the public. It's patently unfair.
I would just like to add, it's important that, and you got to hear me whinge a little bit. When we had the presentation, we do by and through, mean 2 different things. So we were told through February, which means we had a hard line for delivery by January, so that we can do this in February. And now it seems like the TCPs, they're not communicating the same things.
I'm
up and
gonna-
down. The reporting chain, that would be super helpful. But thank you, team. I'm sorry. We are gonna have a chair get together. I gotta dash.
Motion to adjourn.
I just have a question. Just in terms of CB5, we're gonna hear this, like we're hearing it later. How will, I abstain from everything on behalf of our committee, we're just hearing this, the process.
Yeah.
How will we factor in on this?
So the votes of CB5 go down, will be recorded and will be sent over to DCP and will be considered on CB5. It's completely there. Borough board votes are borough board votes. It's like you have a seat at the table and you get a voice in this, but borough board comes down. It's not, that's also why, frankly, you saw all the elected officials abstaining because they're gonna have another opportunity to give their own testimony. So it's a separate thing as borough board.
Okay.
Yep, you're
Just
good.
wanted to.
So there's a motion to adjourn, there's a second, all in favor? Thank you.
Sorry, I know you really wanted to hear our reports.
No, I wanted to, but I gotta jump to a thing, guys, but it's good to see you. I know, okay. Eric, I'm sorry, I have to jump to this. Can you stop the chair? And thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I mean, that's the problem.
Okay, it's good to see all of you guys. I'm sorry, I'm 15 minutes late to my next thing. I gotta run.